James Bond. He ain't got time to die. No time to die.
No time, maybe.
Woo. It's over, Dave. The Daniel Craig Bond, the 5 films, they're done. We're going to talk in a little bit about who we think the next Bond should be. But now that you've seen the 5th installment, No Time to Die, long anticipated, many delays for this movie. It feels like it's been coming out for like 3 years now.
Originally was targeted to come out in 2019. Of course, we have the director change, Danny Boyle out, Cary Fukunawa in, set for April 2020. And then COVID happens and it's delayed 3 more times, finally comes out October 2021. So this movie, for many reasons, was supposed to already be out. And you have to imagine the picking the next James Bond lead would have also been a lot more advanced had this movie actually got to come out when they want to come out. But in the process, Daniel Craig is technically the longest running James Bond actor in terms of years playing the character. He, of course, didn't play him in the most movies, but something to be said about that. I have to imagine, right? I believe he was 37 when he started in Casino Royale. He's ending the run at 51. He's been Bond a long time.
A very long time. And I think a really good Bond.
Fuck yeah.
Probably, number 2, only because Connery he embodies Bond to the fullest, his Bond, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say overall, I think Craig's movies are better, or at least more advanced. They're quite different. There's still a lot of really good Connery Bonds, but they're very different. Yeah, but I guess you give the edge to Connery given the classicness, iconicness that he brought to the character originating it. So yeah, it's clearly, I think, these two guys though, Craig and Connery, for the best.
And your third would be
That's a good one.
Roger Moore?
Like I'd say Roger Moore, but Lazenby, One and Done, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, like that's a banger Bond movie. So I think that's like the inspired take. Lazenby 3.
It's just hard to give it for one performance, but as we digress, we have I'll say it. We have our guy Cary Joji Fukunaga,
right?
Who obviously True Detective fame. It's been rising in stock as a
Maniac
filmmaker
on Netflix.
Yes, man, I forgot about that show actually. But anyways, he comes in to wrap this up. Did you feel like he landed the boat or the ship? Do you think he nailed this ending?
Oh, he definitely landed it. There's no problem with that,
And was it a smooth landing?
I think more or less. I love the movie. I thought it was really effective, especially the end. I think a lot of the sins that this movie might have from a storytelling perspective are not the fault of Cary Fukunawa. They're the fault of this Bond run's shift into serialized storytelling, which is really a brand new phenomenon for the Bond movies. The Bond movies used to be a not connected thing at all. Yes, the same actor plays Bond for a few years, and the same actor might play Blofeld or Q or something, or M, but other than that, there's like no connection at all. And that is largely out of step and out of practice in today's franchise filmmaking, right? So No Time to Die has to answer for a lot of the ills that Spectre, the previous film, introduced. But I did a full rewatch of all the Craig movies coming into this, so I was kind of up on what was going on in Spectre. I know not a lot of people were. It's certainly not the most beloved of the Craig run. Or so coherent. If you might have been a little hazy on Spectre, I can understand why you might be confused about like what's actually happening. But I think the hardcore like emotional beats for Bond and for Craig all really work, and I really liked how it ended. I think thematically, just top level, you weren't going to be better than Skyfall. Skyfall was perfect and could have been the last one, But I still quite liked it. What about you?
Yeah, I think there are certain aspects of this Bond that really I thought were just like right up there with some of the stuff in Royale or in Skyfall. But I think there's also some major problems and some things that really make the film not up to that level for me. And we'll get into them. I do want to say though, as a send off movie, and also considering the fact that I think Craig wanted to have a different take on this Bond.
Right.
He wanted to build out the character more than they ever have. And like you said, the serialized storytelling plays to that. But I think just in general, having an older Bond, having a Bond that um, like acknowledges his paramour's deaths and things like that, and being impacted by them. Bond that wasn't even part of MI6 when this movie starts. There's a lot of like stuff to work through there. I think it's a really good send off movie because it gives them just some awesome scenes, dude. Like the scene that's your background at the Ana de Armas might be one of my favorite like set
Yeah.
pieces of the whole run of Craig,
Oh,
honestly.
definitely.
So I
Yeah.
think overall it's effective for sure, but it's not like top two for me in his series. I was hoping it would
No,
be up there,
no, and that's the thing. I actually just wanted this to be a clear three
and it is.
because, yeah, and it definitely is. Skyfall, Skyfall is the most
It's
advanced and intelligent of all the Bond films for
the
its,
best Bond.
and then the best Bond movie
Yeah.
for its meditation on colonialism
Mhm.
and what it means to be nationalistic, and did a really good job of bringing the Bond character, which is a quite nationalistic and conservative and dated premise, bringing that into the modern age and reckoning with what that means and what that means now versus what it used to mean, right?
Mhm.
And those themes still kind of continue with Spectre, in terms of like the mass surveillance stuff, and they continue with No Time to Die as well, with the bioweapon stuff, I suppose. But it was just done at such a high level and an emotional level with Skyfall that it's really tough to come down from that. So I feel like, yeah, I have to accept that like writing wise, like we already peaked,
Mhm.
and it's hard to expect more than that. And Casino is just really tight and really fun, and has
Yeah.
just a bunch of bang up moments, especially in the first like 90 minutes. So, and in Casino also doesn't have to worry about answering to Spectre, which again this
Yep.
movie has to do. You know, Leah Seydoux' dad is a huge part of this movie. He's dead, but he's a huge part of this
Mhm.
movie. Mr. White, who is in Casino and killed in Quantum, or no,
Mhm.
he's in Casino and Quantum, and he dies.
Inspector, right?
Dies in Spectre. Yeah, it's like most people don't remember who Mr. White was because he wasn't like this compelling villain per se. He just was
There.
Le Chiffre's like side dude,
Mhm.
and then he gets retconned into being part of Spectre when Spectre comes out. So it's like there's a lot of ham-fisted, again, the serial nature that just they kind of did on the fly. So, and that's asking a lot to like make people super invested in that stuff. And even Lea Seydoux, right? She's only introduced in Spectre, again, not a beloved
Mhm.
Bond movie. It's not like she was Eva Green's Vesper and we've been with her since 2006, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't know like what they could have done without just ignoring a lot of it in particular, right? And I feel like
Yeah.
they just decided early on they weren't going to ignore it,
Yep.
so that's why it's the way it is this way.
I do have to say though, like uh Leah Seydoux seems like she's got a lot of talent. I do not buy Daniel Craig and Leah Seydoux's on screen chemistry that much. And I feel like that's like that was a difficult part for me for especially when you're getting ready for Bond's like final send off and his last like time talking is with this woman who I don't really totally buy the relationship, and they're
Hmm.
harkening back to Vesper, who, man, if you want to talk about like on-screen chemistry, Eva
Yeah.
Green, Daniel Craig crackled every time they were together in Royale, and then
Right.
it just felt a little bit more flat with Seydoux and Craig. So I don't know. I
Did
felt like that was a little
Did you think the
troublesome.
ending was flat? Because I thought that shit made it dusty. I thought way he goes out and the way that builds up, it's especially like watching him like crawl around at the end there when he's clearly like shot the shit by Rami
Mhm.
Malek and not in a state of mind to escape. Like for 10 minutes he's not making it out, and I feel like they
Oh yeah,
really nailed it.
No, I thought the ending was really effective. I don't know if I teared up, but I definitely thought it was like a proper send off, and I appreciate that they let Bond, I guess, have like a family to care about rather than just like talking to M, and being like, I gave my service to the country. Like they let him become a person instead of just a
Mhm.
agent of nationalism. But uh, yeah, I don't know. It didn't hit me in the field as much as I thought it would, but I still thought it was really good. And I like you said, I think also having that dread that like, oh, he's dead. Like there's no way off this. Out of this one. It's like a really cool choice. I thought that was really
Yeah.
great.
I mean, it just totally reminded me of when Han Solo dies in The Force Awakens. Harrison Ford did not want to be Han Solo anymore.
Yeah.
Daniel Craig did not want to be Bond anymore. You have to imagine they might have mentioned that, you know what? Can you just kill me so people will
Mhm.
shut the fuck up and leave me alone about this?
Yeah, well, and they left no doubt. Like he gets
Yeah.
blown up by a ton of missiles, and that was a great last shot too of him just like
Hell yeah.
watching the missiles come down. Perfect for Bond. I thought that was great.
Right.
Um, Also him with the kid, great stuff. Having the kid's toy with him at the end, great stuff. I buy all that. I think the stuff with him and his daughter was really well done.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing too. I would say Craig is the best actor to play Bond. Connery became a really good actor, but he was not actually at his peak in his 30s when he was
Hmm.
playing Bond. I
Yeah.
feel like he was more high class in his later years when he started playing older characters. Craig, though, and a lot of this is due to the way they made these movies, especially towards the end, imbues a lot of humanity and longing at the end of No
Hmm.
Time to Die, and I think it's his best performance as the character.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was. I mean, I think he's probably the best actor Bond as well. But I don't really even think it's that close when you think about all the others. I guess Brosnan has had some good roles, and I think he's definitely someone that's getting better roles with age. But
Right.
he was in a lot of like rom coms in his earlier years. Yeah, it's definitely Craig for sure. Um, Wanted to go over one other thing that just did not work for me. Lucifer Safin.
Yeah.
Come
What
on,
a
man.
nuanced name.
Yo, Rami Malek not having the best year, I would say, movie wise. What was he in? The Little Things with
Oh yeah,
Denzel,
that's
where
right.
I think there was a lot of hype for that, and that fell pretty flat. I thought honestly, the fact that Christoph Waltz had so much more levity as Blofeld in the 10 minutes he was there, rather than uh, Malik, and getting triple the screen time and less effective. I don't know,
Right.
just didn't work for me.
Yeah, the Malik character is so funny because this is everyone agrees that it's not a good villain, not an
Mhm.
effective villain. It starts out great though. That early cold open when we're in Norway, we're with young Madeline, who we don't know it's
Mhm.
Madeline yet, and he just menacingly you know, lurks around the house and kills her mom because Mr.
Mhm.
White, again, Mr. White is always there. Mr. White killed his family, right? That was really good. The porcelain mask, really stark
Mhm.
visual for a villain. But then, like, he's barely in the film, and his overall motivations and goals are not clearly stated. He is very much, I guess, I don't know, maybe he's like an old school Roger Moore Bond villain where he's just really general. I'm evil and I will take over the world. Like he's
Mhm.
really not, uh, not even not like explained. Like at the end, I still really liked watching Craig and Lashana Lynch like slink around that compound and like the poison the poison plants and stuff are cool visuals and the people down in the depths in the suits. But like Malik himself, like I mean, you get those conversations at the end when he's holding the kid, and they're okay enough, but like the movie itself just wasn't that interested in Malik's presence as the villain for like 90 minutes that it was hard to be super invested in it. It's almost like, okay, now we have to deal with this, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I think it's just also hard because a lot of the Bond villains don't have a ton of physicality, but I think it was like this might have been the least amount of physicality of any Bond villain. So even his weapon was, a bio weapon, obviously a really interesting concept for that, but just overall, I just think left me just being like, okay, this seems pretty weak and just didn't work for me overall. Um, you know, as I'm thinking about the bioweapon, I'm thinking about Q a lot, right? And we get Ben Wishaw, and he's back as Q. I liked a lot of the stuff about with like Craig and Q, reuniting, and I
Mm.
missed you, Q. Like that, their dynamic has always been really fun in the movies. I feel like Wishaw gets a little bit more to do in this, and
Yeah.
I like his Q. He seems like maybe someone that could potentially come back in future Bonds if he just
Mm.
wants to keep playing this role. But and maybe we'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't think the tech was that interesting. This was the point I was trying to make. But
You're right. Yeah. Like those Bond trademarks, you get some. I guess
mhm,
there's a nice payoff with the
the watch.
electric watch and killing the Cyclops guy who kind of recurs. I like that.
Hmm.
Um, but other than that, it's nothing we hadn't seen before. I mean, it's nice in the beginning when we're in Italy to watch Bond whip around in the Aston, you know,
Hmm.
with the bulletproof glass and the machine guns. It's you know a Bond trope, but it's a Bond trope for a reason. Also, um, yeah, yeah. I think you definitely get some good cue, like you said, because he has actually a lot of I think more meaningful lines here.
Hmm.
Moneypenny, less so. No Harris is kind of there. Even
Yep.
M, like I think Ray Fiennes is M, definitely better in Spectre. He's more central character there.
Hmm.
Obviously, M, really really great from Judy Dench and Skyfall.
Oh yeah,
Obviously, um, and that's nothing to reflect on too, right? Like Ray Fiennes, Naomi Harris, Ben Whishaw. None of them even show up until Skyfall,
I know.
which could have easily been the ending movie. It's
Hmm.
kind of funny to think about, right?
Yeah, and I mean those are what three of the biggest names. I guess you put Jeffrey Wright up there.
Yes, as Felix as well, right?
Bardem, obviously, and Christoph Waltz shows up eventually. Yeah, Skyfall really just gave them so much more. I don't know, panache to the series, so much more legitimacy. Um, and not that like the series needed it, but just in terms of like actual good movie. Um, we mentioned Waltz as Blofeld. He's gone now, obviously killed off. Jeffrey Wright also killed off as CIA agent Felix Leiter. And
Yeah,
that was a little sad.
it was sad, and I think the reason it was sad is because, goddamn, Billy Madison was good as a
Yeah,
hateable bad guy. I thought he was great,
dude.
and I fucking hated him when they killed he killed Felix.
Yeah, I really liked his whole he I think towed the line of like kitschiness from like the old Bond villains
Yeah,
and like that like really talented actor like I'm actually going for it here
yeah.
like
He's
line
smiling
really
all the
well.
time.
Yeah, and it was like this nervous smile, and then like
It's great.
even when he like locks him in, he's like flying away. He's like, oh, I was such a fan of his. Like that sort of kitschy stuff. Like it worked for me. I thought he
Yeah,
was great.
yeah, and like, not I don't have the answer, but like maybe if Billy Madison's character, maybe if Ash was actually the main villain and Rami Malek was not here at all, a less is more thing, maybe
Mm,
there's something to that. Because I thought the way they set up Ash's turn, like he's really compelling when he's like, Felix like, oh, political appointee, like
yep.
it's all really well done, right? And like, oh no, he's a deputy for Malik and
Safin.
yeah, for Safin, and oh, Safin, really scared of him.
Yeah. No, I agree. Magson was great. And another newcomer, Anna de Armas, being on girl who he doesn't sleep with, just gets to be badass as a
Yes,
agent
Paloma,
who, yeah, agent down in where were they,
Cuba,
Cuba?
yeah,
And man, that set piece, that shootout, electric. Put that right into my veins.
fuck yeah, and that was also cool too because like it's really good just as a scene, as a set piece, action filmmaking. Craig, awesome in it, kicking ass. Lashana Lynch kicking ass. Anna Armas kicking ass in a cocktail dress, very impressive. But
Yeah.
also, like, it's serving this greater serialized thing where they're killing off all the Spectre characters,
Yeah.
all the
Yep.
Spectre, agents, as it were. But yeah, I mean, that was really good. And her status as like a less is more character, only there for 20 minutes, really great. Phoebe Waller Bridge contributed to the script alongside Purvis and Wade, who have been the screenwriters of the past 7 Bond movies. We don't exactly know what Phoebe's contribution is, but the Broccoli family said it was significant. I wonder if it had anything to do with um, some of Anna's lines because I thought the way she played off Craig was really impressive,
Hmm.
and like she didn't like tilt her hand right, and at the end Bond's like asking her, "Oh, 3 weeks of training, huh?" You know, it's like,
Hmm.
really really likable.
Yeah, I loved, even though obviously totally like unrealistic, but when they stopped to take the shot together, I just thought that was like it's
Yeah,
such a cool part, and they just go and like kick more ass and get out of there. Just really,
right.
really, really
I mean,
awesome.
also like she's a Hollywood it girl right now too, so it's just like a
Yeah.
huge moment to have her have this great scene in a James Bond
Mhm.
movie right now.
Well, and you think about past James Bond movies, like I said, an actress like her would most likely show up to be a love interest to Bond, and then probably be killed off pretty quickly
Right.
thereafter. And to have her just kind of show up and just kick ass is like such a cool like subversion of expectations that I just loved that. Wanted to just also shout out two more action scenes I thought were just really phenomenally done. The car chase scene with uh, Craig obviously running from Matt Magnuson with his daughter and Cedo in the car. I thought was just like really, really awesome chase scene through the forest. And then just that whole thing really worked for me. I thought that was great.
Oh yeah.
Um, did you like that?
Yeah, I did. The fog, really
Yeah.
cool watching Craig like when he sets up the tripwire and stuff for the motorcycle.
Going
You
through the
know,
water, things splashing. Yeah, that was all really worked for me. And I also liked in the ending scene, like uh, Craig fighting all the guys up the stairwell. Like
fuck yeah. That
awesome, awesome
yeah,
action
that
sequence.
was like kind of Wick-esque, you know.
Yeah.
James Bond is the original action franchise, and you know, since it's been going on, we've had so many things come up and take a piece of the pie, like Mission Impossible and Wick and Fast and Furious, right? So Bond, and we'll talk about this when we talk about casting the next Bond. Bond will have to change a little bit to keep going, but I feel like that was a really like modern piece of action filmmaking. Cool to see. I love the beginning set piece in Matera in Italy. Obviously, gorgeous location. I wasn't sure exactly where it was at first. So I was like, "Is this Toledo, Spain?" Like you know that kind of like classic like European village town with the tiled roofs and you know the arid you know landscapes and stuff. Obviously, gorgeous locations. But to see
Yeah.
that right and Bond do like the motorcycle chase and he's on the run and like he's really flustered and I mean it's gorgeous. It's a big part of the trailer too, you know. So
Mhm.
we'd seen it a bit, but I love that scene.
Yeah.
And
No,
meanwhile,
that was
that scene's
definitely good.
introducing a lot of like the serialized nature, right? He's with Lisa Do. He's going to Vesper's grave. You know, like there's all
Yep.
these things that's like, huh, I didn't know we were going there. But the scenes itself are really kinetic.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think that's why, even though it's not a perfect movie and it's definitely number three in the series for me, um, those scenes and just those moments really embody Bond. I mean, the fact he got to put on the tuxedo and fight alongside Anna de Armas in the last one, just like awesome. You know, you see him walking in the tuxedo, he just looks great. Like you get everything you want from a Bond movie in this, I think. So very
Yeah,
pleased.
I also loved at the end in the compound. He does the turn around and shoot with the
Yep.
pistol, the iconic motion. Love to see that. Oh, a shot the lab scene, the second scene. I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Um, and oh, we should talk about Lashana Lynch too, who for a time is 007. You know, it's just the number. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of bandied about stuff when she was cast, of course, all these, you know, idiots online and stuff. But it seems like the Broccoli family will be keeping James Bond male, but it also shows that you know there's a lot of room for female characters continue to evolve in the series, like you said, between
Mhm.
Lynch and Onda Armas. You know, I think that's pretty obvious.
I think Lynch feels very set up for a James Bond spin-off series on
Mm,
Amazon now that they've
Amazon will be
acquired the
interested in that.
rights. You know, so it feels very much like she's set up for something like that, right?
Double O
Got to
Eight.
be. Yeah, exactly, or something like that. Make her like 005. I don't know. That feels better than 8 for some reason to me. But regardless of the number, yeah, I thought she was fun. And the dynamic between her and James I thought was great. Also, again, subverting those expectations of the Bond girl with her like showing up in Cuba and then being like, "Yo, like." this is what's going on, like back off type of thing. I thought was really great. Set up their
Mhm.
dynamic really well.
Yeah.
I liked her.
Yeah. I also like kind of the pissing contest she's having with Bond when Bond's doing stuff for Felix, at
Yeah,
Cuba. That was fun.
for sure. Um, any last thoughts on Bond before we move on to who will play the next one?
I just have one last note. I didn't come up with this myself. I saw it online, but we have that the first scene in Norway, the flashback scene, and then we
Mhm.
get everything else. How old is Rami Malek's character supposed to be?
I think he's
Obviously, this is
40.
something I would totally ignore and not quibble about when watching a movie. But if you think about it, like Lee Seydoux, how old is she supposed to be, right? Well, she went from kid to her current status, and Rami Malek is Rami Malek for all of that. So how old is he supposed to be?
I got the sense he's like 40, right?
I
Like
guess.
40-ish. So
And
maybe
he was
she would,
20 when he attacked her.
yeah, probably something
25,
like that.
15. I don't know. Just a
At
note.
that, yeah, for sure. Before we move on to the next Bond, is there any director you really want to see take a shot at a Bond movie?
Yeah, so that's a great question, right? Kerry Fukunaga is not a Brit,
Mhm.
but they usually stick to Brits. Um, so I'll just stick to Brits too. I think there's some obvious names. Top of my list would be Steve McQueen, just because he's a world class director. We've talked about that at nauseum with Small Axe last year.
Mhm.
Um, other than McQueen, I think there's some other, obvious ones. Christopher Nolan, I doubt he would
I
come
don't
to
think he would do
Bond.
it.
He's too wants to be too original, which is great, So let's leave him out. Matthew Vaughn comes to mind just because Kingsman very
Mhm.
much takes a lot of inspiration from the James Bond movies. He's kind of been making late Bond movies already. Um, so those two stand out to me. If we're not picking a Brit though, I'd love to see Damien Chazelle do it because his
Mm,
approach to action, the way he did the action scenes in First Man, like he obviously we know he's world class. Like I think there's some potential there. But
interesting.
there's a lot of other choices. Kenneth Branagh, Peter Morgan of The Crown. I
Mhm.
think the key thing is where is Bond going, and
Right.
that'll inform what director is chosen.
Yeah, you said most of the ones I thought of. McQueen is obviously number one. We just love to see what he could do with it. Um, Paul Greengrass is someone that kind of intrigues me. He's got the
Yeah.
born chops, so it's like
Right.
got the action stuff right there. Um, and yeah, you mentioned Branagh. I think Kenneth Branagh would be an interesting one as well. So we'll circle back to that as we hear